Parliament's Defence and International Relations Portfolio Committees will be holding a joint meeting with the ministers of the departments after the SNDF Chief General Rudzani Mapwanya's controversial pledge of political allegiance to Iran. The presidency is describing his recent trip as ill-advised. Durko is insisting he had no authority to speak on South Africa's foreign policy. Let's find out what's likely to unfold today and what censure should be brought to bear with the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Defence and Military Veterans, Dakota Legoete, who's also noted with concern these reported remarks made by Mapwanya during his visit to Iran. Dakota, good morning. Thank you so much for making time for us. Welcome to the program. Let's start with the Tehran Times, apparently reporting that Mapwanya said Iran and South Africa had common goals. It always stood alongside the oppressed and defenseless people of the world, reportedly also taking aim at Israel over the continued war in Gaza as he reiterated support for the Palestinian people, also telling officials that his visit carries a political message from Ramaphosa's administration. Did he have the right to do that?
Thank you very much. Good morning to you and good morning to all the viewers at home. The reason why, as portfolio committees, felt very strong that we need the two ministers to come and account to the portfolio committees, it's related to mixed messages which came from them. As the executive, the presidency said it's ill-advised. DERCO distanced itself. The Department of Defense distanced itself and later owned up. So it's confusing from one country to have so many messages on one particular subject and matter of what the general has said. We don't even want to judge him whether deal with the merits or demerits of the matter. What we would want is for the responsible members of the executive to come and account before the portfolio committee. Why do we have mixed messages when we are one republic, one flag, one foreign policy, and one establishment as a sovereign state? So that's matter that we need to clarify, because currently as we are in the middle of dealing with a bomb that has been thrown to us in terms of trade tariff war of 30%. We are led by Honorable Tau and Honorable Lamola in the engagement with the US and other countries to find possible alternative markets. Whilst in the middle, other things comes in. It creates an impression that we are disjointed. We don't understand our statecraft, including statecraft, which is a function of the executive. And that's why, as the Portfolio Committee and Parliament, would want the executive to account, because we do have a foreign policy, we do have military diplomacy, we do have economic diplomacy, we do have political diplomacy as a country. Why is it explained in so many hymns and messages which create a reputational damage to us as a sovereign state, and it creates doubts on other nations in terms of how they would treat us going forward? So it's very much important that the executive is given an opportunity to come and clarify Parliament. But we're happy that the presidency, DERCO and the Department of Defense, as well as the chief, they are still going to meet. Once they have met, I'm sure they'll bring one message to Parliament, which would clarify not only Parliament, but the nation, including our allies in the world and the global community.
Hear me? Do you have my audio?
Yes.
All right, I've been trying to interject you because there's some specific questions that I would like to ask as follow-ups, and you've said quite a bit there, which touches on many different subjects. South Africa's foreign diplomacy, the fallout of a statement like this, and I really wanted to lean in and get a few more details, so I wasn't sure if you could hear me. Let me go on to this then. As you say, the whole purpose of bringing these portfolio committees and getting them to, ministries and getting them to account is to clarify the mixed messaging. But what is already clear from a constitutional standpoint, and that is what I would love for you to explain to our viewers this morning, the SANDF is constitutionally required to remain apolitical. Is that true?
Yes, the National Defence Force, it's our political establishment, which is established in terms of Its mandate is derived from Section 200, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Republic, which mandates that the National Defence Force to defend the Republic, its people, to defend the sovereignty of the country, the territorial integrity, to defend the Constitution and all international laws. So when you deal with that, you deal with national security. Now, when you deal with national security, you don't deal with it in terms of race, color, or religion, or including political affiliation. It's done to national security, is done to all citizens, to all taxpayers, and to all voters across the board without any taking of sides.
So isn't it then cut and dried? You know, the fact already, based on what we already know, that he has moved outside of his constitutional, or at least broken his constitutional requirements. And given the reported seriousness of his remarks in Iran, do you believe this could amount to conduct that is unbecoming of a military commander? Some parties, Dakota, even going as far as saying that he should be court-martialed.
Yes, look, that's why we want the members of the executive, because you know, as parliament and portfolio committees, we don't deal with officials like your chief of the National Defence Force. He accounts to the Minister of Defence, and he also accounts to the president as the commander in chief. So that's what happens. When there are problems, we need to get the report from the ministers or members of the executive in terms of what is actually transpiring. So for now, it will be very much immature for us as the portfolio committee to come in on matters of merits and demerits unless we are properly briefed by the members of the executive, who accounts directly to us as the portfolio committee and as parliament.
What options, Dakota, and yes, we'll take our viewers to that meeting when it happens. As you say, there's a lot of clarification and fact-checking that you require from the submissions that are going to be put forward. But what do you have in your arsenal in terms of corrective measures? One imagines you would have already thought about what is available to you, whether in terms of oversight, discipline, or clearer guidelines. I think you've spoken a little bit about the clearer guidelines there in terms of whose message, what message, and whose responsibility is it to disseminate. So what do you think should be, just on the face of it, should be implemented to prevent such a future breakdown between defense, diplomacy, and official foreign policy from ever happening again?
Look, what needs to be done going forward is to better coordinate our statecraft in terms of coordinating the work of the executive. So what it means, everybody in future going outside the country, that person needs to get a script of what is the position of the country on a number of issues, from trade to military diplomacy, to economic diplomacy, to political diplomacy, so that we are clarified. And in going forward in future, would expect DERCO to induct or incubate or workshop whoever would go outside the country, representing the country, so that there's synergy, there's unity and cohesion in terms of our message as a country, because currently there is trade tariff war in the world, and any confusing message can make us to be punished, which trade tariff wars are not fought by men and women in combat, but they are fought through an economic hitman. You'll just see your economy going down, people, unemployment increasing, having a crisis of the growth to the GDP, and there will be no artillery or arsenal that would demonstrate that there's war. So it's always important that when we deal with diplomacy, that we take into consideration our position, our engagements on other issues, because currently we're in the middle of engagement through Honorable Lamola and Honorable Tau with other nations in the world in terms of trying to mitigate against the trade tariff wars which are happening currently as part of the global geopolitics.
I think, as you've been explaining there, Dakota, our foreign policy is also built on a stated commitment of non-alignment. And what you're sharing there is that these comments, if they're accurate as reported, the timing could not have been worse, right, in terms of our tenuous diplomatic relations between the United States, which is one of Iran's biggest adversaries.
Yes, you know that our foreign policy is anchored from a document called the Freedom Chart, which says our intention and our outlook as a nation is to promote peace and freedom in the world, is to build a better Africa and a better world. So we are, in most of the time, non-aligned. We can't be aggressive because ours is to promote peace. That's why even elsewhere in the continent, it has been our responsibility to bring peace and to even deploy our national defense force on peace missions. Ours is for peace and freedom, better Africa and a better world. We can't be an aggressor, but at the same time, we can't allow our sovereignty to be undermined in case of an attack.
Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Defence and Military Veterans, Dakota Legoete, thank you for your time.